romanticists. This is my home, the distant and isolated planet simply known as Robot World. Home of the Robostructs. Towering monster machines of steel and cybernetics. They fear nothing. The last great folly of my people. Now I alone stand on this desiccated world of metal and ruin. But this is not where I hail from. My home world resides on the other side of the galaxy. Zoidstar. Known as the Zoidarians, my ancestors came from that world to this one, bringing their machines with them, the Zoids. As on other worlds, the Zoidarians sought to expand and subdue all they saw mighty conquerors with their Zoids. So Robot World fell. Once a lush technological world of sentient machine life, it became just another outpost for the Zoidarian Empire. However, in time, the Zoidarians on Robot World settled and formed their own culture, one dedicated to science and discovery. Renaming themselves the Roboticists, these settled natives on Robot World abandoned the old identity of Zoidarians. They no longer referred to their monster machines as Zoids. Instead, they became known as Robostructs. But then the Roboticists broke into two factions, the Blues and the Reds. For a time, the factions lived in an uneasy peace. That was till the coming of the Great Silence, when all communication with the Empire died. We know not what caused this collapse, but never again did the Roboticists hear from their Zoidarian cousins. Without contact with Zoidstar or the Zoidarian Empire, the factions on Robot World broke into open hostility. Thus began the War of the Red and the Blues. Roboticists against Roboticists. However, in time, indignity and hatred of the Roboticists would become ingrained in their machines, their Robostructs. And the metal monsters broke free. With minds and wills of their own, the Robostructs rebelled. What followed was a brutal cleansing of the Roboticist race. Seen as oppressors by the Robostructs, they were hunted down and wiped out till only I remain. Last of the Roboticists, I, the technician, now watch over Robot World, the home of the Robostructs. But the Robostructs did not stop there. The enmity and hatred of their masters was now a part of them. So the war would continue, Robostructs against Robostructs. We sought to unleash the power of the Robostructs. Only we could build them. We thought we could control them. We were wrong. Who could have known these machines could be so incredibly powerful? The ultimate robot monsters. Now the two armies of prehistoric battle beasts fight one another. The blue Robostructs call themselves Blue Guardians. The red identify as Red Mutants. But who will win this war for Robot World? It begins. 'Cause 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 Terrablu, the global shots of the sky. Terrablu spreads its metal wings to fly. Terrablu throws off robots in its junk. Terrablu hunts down the red mutant folk. The robo-structs will now rule over the world. Their dominion over all is unfurled. No robo-physicists keep them under control. Global conquest is now Terrablu's goal. Introduce factions, the robo-structs break. Blue guardians against red mutants make. The ultimate metal monsters now duel. So Terrablu soars with his power true. Terrablu, dark robo-structs on the sky. Terrablu spreads his metal wings to fly. Terrablu throws off robots as a joke. Terrablu hunts down the red mutant folk. Flap your wings and soar the skies, Terrablu. Victories against red mutants you accrue. Fire your missiles and swoop to attack. Death with the hulks turn robot wolves sky black. Terrablu, dark robo-structs of the sky. Terrablu spreads his metal wings to fly. Terrablu throws off robots as his joke. Terrablu hunts down the red mutant folk. Terrablu, dark robo-structs on the sky. Terrablu spreads his metal wings to fly. Terrablu throws off robots as his joke. Terrablu hunts down the red mutant folk. And so the robo-structs continue their endless war on Robot World. Each determined to be the last monster machine standing. The Blue Guardians stand against the Red Mutants, still determined to fight till the last. The Red Mutants can seek the utter destruction of their Blue Guardian foes. The living embodiment to the roboticist's thirst for control and dominion. Perhaps my people were not so different from the Zoidarians. Perhaps we were meant to die out as they did. So may it be. Yet what will remain of Robot World once the last laser beam flies? What new age will come to this far-flung arm of the galaxy once the war of the robo-structs ends? Will peace finally dawn on this burnt-out metal husk of an alien world? Or will the robo-structs seek to escape their dead world in search of new wars to fight? Who can say? But what I do know is that I will be here to witness it. Such is my fate. Such is my doom. I, the technician, last of the roboticists, scion of the planet Robot World. Keeper of the technology. Outspoken. Yet what will remain of Robot World once the last laser beam flies? What new age will come to this far-flung arm of the galaxy once the war of the robo-structs ends? So may it be. Yet what will remain of Robot World once the last laser beam flies? What new age will come to this far-flung arm of the galaxy once the war of the robo-structs ends? Outspoken. Such is my fate. Such is my doom. I, the technician, last of the roboticists, scion of the planet robot world, keeper of the technocracy.